Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Connecting Conversations by Cohesia Connect. And today it's going to be a solo podcast for our first time ever. But before I begin, my name is Evelkah Powell, and I am the co founder and co host of Cohesia Connect and this podcast. So today it's mainly about me talking through some of the experiences that I've had so far in the last couple of months. And I thought, why not take a break? We've heard so many different stories from so many different people over the last couple of weeks, apart from the fact that we took a mini break in between. But there were a lot of things happening that I thought it would be best to just have a open and honest conversation. And perhaps this is kind of self-healing for myself in a way, in terms of really um, thinking about what I've been through and decompressing it and finding solutions in a strange way. So do bear with me throughout this podcast. It's mainly me getting things off my chest in the hopes that whoever else is listening or hearing this, it can help, and hopefully we can come together and create solutions and bring new thoughts and perspectives to some of the topics that I wanted to touch on in this podcast today. So we do have some exciting guests coming up as well. So do keep an eye out for our following podcast in the coming weeks. I'm really excited to be a part of some of those conversations and see how they go. So that's something to look forward to. Anyways, let's get into the nitty gritty of today's conversation. So, over the last, I would say, 2 months, I've been having varied different experiences and I guess really trying to understand some of the conversations I've had with certain people, particularly people from very senior career corporate backgrounds, as well as people who are navigating their career first time. And there's just been some talks and conversations that have really been on my mind and have stuck with me over these last couple of weeks. So, I guess the first point, as this podcast is all around bringing conversations and building connections with different people in hopes of showcasing the variety and the stories and lived experience of others, that will then help to inspire our society to make changes and become more inclusive and look towards diversity as not something that is just performative, but rather something that in which we take action. And for me, in my purview and my perception, diversity isn't just a word for the sake of using it. It's an action word. So is inclusion. All of these are active, from in my view. All these words enlist some sort of action. So I was having some conversations with um, a group of senior stakeholders in an organization, very prominent organization, and we were talking about diversity and inclusion and what that means. And I was introducing them to some of the work that I've been doing. And this individual then kind of started to question and really started to ponder as to why why do we have to bring up these conversations. And we, as corporate organizations, we create these lavish extravagant targets and initiatives in hopes that would represent the communities that they serve, in hopes that they can attract more underrepresented talent to their organization. So throughout that conversation, we were just kind of unraveling their thought process as to what that meant and what they understood that means. And in the end, it turned out to be not them, taking a stab at what diversity is or what diversity isn't, but rather trying to find a solution and trying to find and understand as to why do we do all of these extravagant things and make it very target driven and business minded, when at the crux of it, it's a human issue, it's a societal issue that we have on our hands at large. But more so, why are we not actually going to the grassroots? So, for many of you who don't know, in within the corporate space, it's all about recruitment and making sure that employee retention is good and making sure that the culture environment is an environment that's conducive to inclusivity and belonging. But in my view, corporate organizations and um, businesses as a whole do miss a trick in the sense of they're looking at a pipeline and a culture that where people are ready are with have situated and become comfortable and already created a certain mindset and perception, whereas we should be going to those grassroots. What are we doing to fix it from, you know, the very crux and roots of the whole issue? And that's going out to communities, engaging with younger people, find out what their challenges are and what they're saying and what they're doing, in hopes that we can use all of that new generational thought, ideas and perspectives to then influence how we can then attract, retain employees. Because whilst we are focusing on people who already have and been in a system that is either discriminatory or that there is no progress or nothing's happening, yes, there is an element of us having to fix that and having to find solutions to cater to that, but that's only one part of the puzzle that a lot of organizations um, are interacting with, instead of a more holistic view as to what can we do more from a grassroots community level that we can help to solve the problem, where we can give these people a voice and where we can listen to these voices in order to enact change. So throughout that conversation with the senior stakeholder, it was just really enlightening to hear their view in understanding where their stopgap as an organization is, and why do we then rely on extravagant initiatives and targets when we're not dealing with a number problem, we're dealing with a human problem. So let's try and dismantle that from a humanistic and holistic level, then a numerical, mathematical, strategic level, because that's where the disconnect happens. And that's where we end up in situations where more and more people in, are feeling this sense of diversity fatigue. You know, organizations keep bringing it up and up and up. And at the end of it, there is actually no real sense of change overall. And in fact, we're kind of running in a hamster wheel of the same situations over and over again. But as society and as the world moves on, we're going to encounter new situations. Going to encounter new categories of challenges and barriers. But if we keep running in the same hamster wheel, we're not going to get anywhere, and we're just reiterating the problem. And there was something I read just recently whereby there was there's this kind of statement that many of you may have or have not heard, but it goes something like, you cannot you cannot fix the master's house, or um, you cannot fix the master's house using, or dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. So in that sense, it's like trying to fix something or find a solution using the same tools that the master has, and it's never going to work. You're just going to recycle the same issue. You're going to recycle the same challenge. I hope I got that correct, or else that will be a little bit embarrassing, but you all know what I mean by that anyway. But essentially, we need to find new solutions. We need to find new ways of doing things. We need to be a little bit more innovative. We need to listen more. We need to understand what is the root of the problem, rather than trying to plaster over these challenges by, you know, simply, for instance, in recruitment, simply going out to um, specific job boards and advertising. Quite frankly, and I hate to break it to a lot of organizations and businesses who may be listening to this, but posting on a diversity job board isn't going to bring diverse talent because majority of diverse talent look in the same place as everyone else is. But what are you doing from a internal point of view to fix the challenges in your recruitment process to really dismantle some of the biases and barriers that exist? For instance, feedback from interviews, for some reason, something so simple, but yet so many organizations get it wrong, is providing feedback during interviews or during a recruitment process. I'm still trying to figure out why that is and why it is such a problem, but that's just an example of something so simple, but it adds a humanistic level to it, and it shows that we're actually listening to what engaging, shall I say, engaging in conversations with those diverse talent to understand, okay, you didn't get through the recruitment process by because of X, Y, and Z, and then leave space for that candidate or that person of interest to say that actually I don't quite agree because I find that I have proved this or that, or so on and so forth. So I think there is another problem and conversations I've been having is there's definitely a stopgap in people not wanting to listen. And when I say listen, I mean like really listen to understand and to take action. We do all these extravagant things and we make ourselves and put ourselves in positions where we think we're doing or we perceive we're doing great stuff because our organization is doing this or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, but in reality it's nothing's really being done, and in fact we still have the same challenges that people were having 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago. So are we really making progress if the same problems keep reoccurring year after year, decade after decade? Don't we have to take a step back and think, well, actually, we just keep using the master's tools to dismantle the master's house when it's not going to happen because it wasn't created to damage or dismantle their house. It was created to sustain it and maintain it. So why are we not looking in other avenues? Why are we not looking at different ways of doing things? And all of these are some of the, I guess, thought processes and thoughts I've been going through these last couple of weeks and engaging in conversation because it's coming to a point where a lot of the things that we're doing seems a little bit repetitive, seems a little bit stagnant. And as we know, during 2020, there was this huge uproar as to we need to do more, we need to be better, we need to create all of these different aspects and initiatives because we've clearly got it wrong. But now we've just come back round and we've become more complacent, in my opinion, that we have done pre COVID. So it's just really baffling to sit here and think that what many people thought during 2020 was a start of something and the birth of something new, that we were going to challenge systems, we were going to dismantle it, we were going to change narratives. 3, 4 years on, we've kind of reached a stopgap where nothing change hasn't really we haven't seen the change that so many of organizations and people have pledged or committed to. So it's just like, where do we stand in all of this? What needs to change? And who does this change? And who takes up this mantle of change? And I think there are amazing people out there and people within the diversity and inclusion field in um, different walks of life and different aspects, really trying to really trying to make a difference and make a change. And yes, we need this is not a one person's job and a one person's duty, but it's a collective effort from everyone to actually take initiative, take action to do something different, to challenge the status quo, to challenge the norm, um, and unravel some of the things that we've just kept putting underneath the carpet. So, yeah, I think for me, it was just really enlightening in some of the conversations and some of the things I've seen and heard in these last couple of weeks that just made me take a step back and think, are we actually getting anywhere? Um, we say diversity is this, we say diversity is that. We want to do this, we want to do that. We've done this and we've done that, and it's just like great. Now, where is the societal impact? Where is the systemic impact that we're having? Because for a while, and I'm sure plenty of people would agree with me here, is that we say a lot but do little. Organizations pledge a lot, put in their strategies and do all of this, but then do little. So it's just more of us. And this is not just from an organizational, business, corporate level, but from an individualistic and humanistic level. What are we doing when we're having conversations with our peers, our colleagues, our family members to really dismantle such a derogative um, thinking and perspective on how we view difference and what difference actually means, and how this then impacts diversity on a grand scheme of things. So it was mainly to unravel what that looks like and what that could be, but mostly I wanted to use this space where I kind of have you to myself, to really create a space where you can take a step back and you can take time to reflect. What are you doing to change the norm? What are you doing to take up space and be a voice for those that are voiceless? What are you doing to really take action? Are you challenging a line manager and a manager, a family member, a friend, in terms of their perspective on things and in terms of how they respond or engage in certain conversations? What are we doing as a society to really rip down the walls, to make a change and to really give a space where everyone feels like they're welcomed and everyone feels like they have a part to play and everyone feels that they belong. And I think whilst we have made such great progress over the years, I think we're still so far away from aspects of gender to disability to ethnicity to age to how we view parents and what that looks like in parenthood and the challenges of that. I don't think we talk about that as much, and maybe perhaps for our next conversation, we look at what parenthood actually means and the challenges and stereotypes and barriers that exist that also is part of the whole diversity question and the diversity narrative. So how do we break that down? There are so many niches that we often override it with this blanket approach as to if we do if we create this, or if we create these initiatives, or if we create these targets, then some great things are going to happen. But in fact, we're measuring the wrong, in my opinion, we're measuring the wrong aspect. We're measuring it based on numbers, but rather we should be measuring it on what people are feeling and what people are saying, and the 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 environment that we're creating for many organizations, and I think people as well. We look at it and we think, oh yes, there is a positive trajectory as to how we've done things, and in fact we're all humans. It's not linear. When one target seems to be going great, another target may perhaps be going the other way and falling short. So how do we really approach these niches and these different aspects? Because we can't blanket it with an overarching approach to diversity and inclusion, for instance. There needs to be a very strict um, And there needs to be a very strict view on how we cater for different communities, how we cater for different people, and in the hopes of really impacting and creating a world where we all feel like we have something to give rather than we feeling that there's always something to take. So yeah, it's just been a whirlwind of thoughts, and I hope that I feel like I've gone from tangent to tangent to another tangent, but the underlining message that I want to leave people with from this brief and short um, conversation with you, one to one conversation, this heartfelt conversation, is that diversity is neither this nor that, but it's it's a beautiful mix match of everything, and we have to look at that, um, and we have to appreciate that, and it's something that is so complex that we try to solve it with these, I guess, these limited, um, simplistic solutions that we won't get anywhere. And we really need to engage with the complexity that's within diversity in order for us to dismantle the master's house and not using the same tools that they've given us, because quite frankly we're going to get nowhere. um but yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to chat with you. I hope I haven't, I guess I hope my hope is that I leave you with a space where you can kind of reflect on what I said, and perhaps maybe you are someone as well who is in the D&I space like myself and have noticed and heard some of these conversations and looking to trying to make sense of it all. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in this short and brief podcast with you, and having this very open and honest, transparent conversation, that it is difficult and sometimes you just don't take the time back to really dissolve and um, take stock of what what is happening around us. So this was just a nice little chit chat with you, and I actually feel like I've gotten a lot of things off my chest, and I hope what I've said as well resonates in some sort of way. And I hope that if you are currently going through some thoughts around this and you've experienced or heard or been in conversations and engagements in rooms where you're just not sure why someone brings something up, or the the inclusion aspect just didn't feel right, I hope this podcast helps in letting you know that you're not alone, because I've been in rooms where, yes, it's been quite liberating to talk about a lot of these stuff, but also it did take a little bit of a toll, and in making me realize, like, wow, that actually happened, or wow, we haven't really gone much further, but we're still saying the same things as we've done 3, 4, 10, 15, 50 years ago. So yeah, it was just more of a liberating chat, with you all, and I hope whatever you're doing and whatever you get up to, that it is amazing, and overall continue to challenge the status quo, continue to change the narrative, because without that and without doing so, we won't make progress. So be the light for someone, be the voice for the voiceless, and overall, let's make a change and rise to the challenge, essentially. So I hope you're all are good, and I'm going to leave you at that. But thank you for listening and being with me one to one. Hopefully, we can have more of these little chit chats and moments of reflection. And yeah, I will speak to you soon. But keep an eye out for the next podcast to come out in a couple of days and weeks. So we'll see you there. Take care, everyone. Bye.